Also breaking tonight, a sharp divide between House Democrats as they battled over how to condemn what many saw as anti-Semitism from their freshman member, Ilhan Omar. Her supporters appear to have won here tonight, leading to an 8-page resolution that threw in every kind of hate you could imagine, practically. An official proclamation that, if you didn't realize it, hate is bad. In a moment reminiscent of the debate over Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter, it seems in this case they went with all hate matters. And those who wanted her to be called out for anti-Semitism are not getting what they wanted tonight. So they produced a document that condemns anti-Semitism, anti-Islamic acts, white supremacists, citing many of the recent horrific crimes that we've seen, but also reaches back to a cornucopia of hate that would appear to many to have been long agreed upon, such as the incarceration of Americans of Japanese descent during World War II, the loyalty of President John F. Kennedy being questioned because of his Catholic faith, the Dreyfus affair, and Muslim bigotry post 9/11. So this document is 8 pages. You can see now how actual legislation often turns out to be 5,000, 10,000 pages at times, and perhaps why Congress has an approval rating of 18%. Something to think about tonight. Earlier, I spoke with former Connecticut Senator and Vice Presidential candidate Joe Lieberman, who's been very outspoken on all of this, and asked him if we really need a resolution to say that we all agree that hate is bad.
I read the resolution, and it reminds me of the old line that a camel is a horse designed by a committee. So this is a resolution drafted by a caucus. So it started out being a resolution to condemn anti-Semitism because of the anti-Semitic remarks made by Congresswoman Omar. Yeah. Her name is left out, and now...
Do you agree with that her name is left out?
I don't. I mean, I think this resolution, as it's passed, though it's a bit of a hodgepodge, nonetheless is a statement against all forms of hatred. As your introduction said, it went way back to the Dreyfus affair and John F. Kennedy's Catholicism, etc. But okay, let's say it's a basic statement against hatred. But really, what the House of Representatives still has to do, and it didn't do today, is to call out and hold accountable Congresswoman Omar for the anti-Semitic comments it made. This is the way, look, what people in public life say matters. And if the House of Representatives doesn't deal specifically in response to what Congresswoman Omar said, it's going to give a message to other people in Congress the next time they want to get up and say something racist or homophobic or against another religion. So I think they only did part of the job today.
I mean, a resolution doesn't have much teeth anyway. It just says, here's something we all agree on. So when you have a resolution that doesn't even call out the behavior that you discuss, it seems like it has even less grit to it. CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, has just put out this statement. Unfortunately, this resolution was introduced to silence legitimate criticism of domestic support for the discriminatory and segregationist policies of a foreign government that received billions of American taxpayer dollars. What do you say to that, Senator?
Well, that's just not true. Fortunately, in my opinion, there is broad bipartisan support for a strong U.S.-Israel relationship and for our fellow democracy, Israel. Occasionally, there are people who object to specific Israeli policies. That's appropriate in our democracy. What Congresswoman Omar said was not just a reasoned disagreement with the policies of the Israeli government. It was just plain anti-Semitic, going back to raising questions of dual loyalty, of Jewish money. It's deeply offensive. I mean, I always say to people when I speak that, I feel blessed to have been born in America, and I love this country. That is the typical reaction of American Jews. A lot of American Jews and Christians also profoundly support Israel, but that's not at all in conflict with our devotion first to America.
You know, it seemed at first she was conciliatory in response to the first round of comments, but now she's not. She's pushing back, and I think you could make an argument looking at this resolution that she won that battle. And James Clyburn said this, which I want to see what you think about. He said, there are people who tell me, well, my parents are Holocaust survivors. My parents did this. It's more personal with her. I've talked to her. I can tell you she is living through a lot of pain. So he's referring to her background as a Somali, born in Somalia, who lived in a Kenyan refugee camp. What do you make of that comment?
Well, I'm surprised. I know Jim Clyburn. He's a fine person. I'm surprised he said that. First off, I can tell you, to be really personal about this, my wife, Hadassah, is the child of survivors. She grew up in a household where her mother, who was in Auschwitz, screamed out in the middle of her sleep at night because of nightmares about what she went through. I'm sure Congresswoman Omar went through some hell in Somalia, but it's no excuse for coming here, getting elected to Congress, having the special responsibility that goes with being a member of Congress in our democracy, and making anti-Semitic statements. She really ought to be criticized for it by her colleagues in the House so it doesn't happen again, not just against Jews, but against any group in our society.
I mean, there is a line in here that rejects the perpetuation of anti-Semitic stereotypes, including the pernicious myth of dual loyalty and foreign allegiance, but it does not name her, as we said. When you look at what's happening in Europe and you look at the rise of anti-Semitism and hate crimes that we've seen here in the United States, and you see that this group in your party, in the House, that is getting together around some of these ideas, how much does that concern you?
Well, it concerns me a lot. I mean, look, it's hard to believe that anti-Semitism is beginning to express itself in Europe and in some ways in America. The kind of statements that Congresswoman Omar made, which are anti-Semitic, do not reflect the rank and file of the Democratic Party. But if people in the Democratic Party don't stand up respectfully and hold her accountable for her anti-Semitic remarks, then others are going to feel they can do the same, or they can take on other groups, religious, racial, or anything else, with hatred. And that undercuts the unity that has always been the great strength of America.
Senator Lieberman, thank you very much, sir. Good to have you with us tonight.
Thanks, Martha. Thank you.